Cool. Okay, so we are talking about meta ads today and some of the kind of changes that we've seen this year. A year ago, I was strongly pushing all of my clients to Meta versus Google. It was just cost per click were down. It was just an easier platform, especially for lower budget. But within the past year, that's really kind of started to shift, maybe even balance out a little bit back to Google's favor. But there are still ways to really maximize what Meta has done and how they've changed their platform. So we're going to kind of talk through the big key changes. And I have all of this in a PDF too that I'm happy to share at the end. So you don't have to take too many notes and stuff like that. But the biggest thing to know about what Meta has done, and this went into effect in April and it's continuing to kind of roll out, is really that they are pushing their AI and their advanced plus targeting, their advanced plus optimization. Meta's feeling is that they know better than you may know about your own audience, or that even sophisticated ad managers may know. And the reason for that is obviously they have far more data at their disposal than we are aware of. They, see every click that you make and everything that you look at. And so their theory is that with their back-end data, they can find a bigger audience and an audience more likely to click than what you may have done with manual targeting in the past. So the first thing to really know is that in the past, really narrowing your targeting, really getting very specific with who you were trying to reach was really important. But now it's kind of broader targeting is actually better. And that's, again, because they're pushing their AI format. They want to have less restriction. That is like, take the handcuffs off of me and let me find your audience for you. So those hyper specific interest stacks can actually work against you now. So if you're adding too many interests, too many layers of demographics, it can really just kind of force Meta into a really small circle of who they can target, and they don't want that for you. So broad targeting is almost always performing better, and I'll talk at the very end about how you can test those two, but broad targeting is really important. And then the second thing is first-party targeting. With all of the changes with iOS privacy, with tracking privacy, everything that's kind of changed in the last year or two, it's harder and harder to get that targeting signal that we used to get from iPhones especially are kind of the worst culprit there. So really uploading your own customer lists, using your own CRM integrations, your own past data, that first party data is really important now. So if you have those CSVs of your past clients or even people that have inquired with your business before, uploading those are really key. That first party data cannot be beat anymore. So if you have that, that's great for lookalike targeting. That's great for creating custom audiences of your email lists, video views, page visits, your Instagram engagements, anything like that. But essentially the takeaway here is Meta wants room to work. And if you try to constrain it too much, it's going to work against you because they're just penalizing you for that, essentially. So that's just something to be mindful of in terms of targeting. Advantage Plus, both the campaigns and the placements in your creatives is now the default in Ads Manager, and they want you to use it that way. They want you to let them come up with multiple hooks, multiple visuals. They want you to turn on that optimized creative button and let them test it based on your audience. There are audiences that perform or they're more likely to click on a static image, and there are audiences that are more likely to watch a video. And again, Meta has that data, so they're encouraging you to let them optimize per user. So leave those advantage targeting on, the Advantage Plus, both with ad placement, with your creative placement, optimized creative, and with the advantage targeting. That's, if I preach anything in all of this, it's work with their AI, not against it. And I know sometimes that's frustrating and feels like I know my audience and I know what I want to put out there, but you are paying them to use their platform, and they do have more data than we have access to. So give Meta the options and let them test for you, essentially with your creative. Creative now is queen. It's super important. Short form video is absolutely dominating over static ads, reel style, 9:16, filmed on an iPhone. And honestly, authentic performs better than polished up studio visuals, than AI generated visuals. Meta wants to, we used to call it stopping the scroll, where, we wanted people to like stop and look really, at your ad. And Meta actually wants it to filter in with everything native. They don't want it to look like an ad. So your face, your voice, your story, that's your scroll stopper right now. So I know it's uncomfortable to just kind of put your face on your camera and talk, but truly that's what's most likely going to perform best. And that's just because that's how the native format is working for them. So, show behind the scenes, show B-roll. If you're not comfortable talking to the camera, use B-roll and put captions over it or voiceover. But honestly, the more authentic it looks, the better right now. And then the next one is clear offers and really simple funnels are performing better right now. The long form, long process funnel is really gone. What is working now are clear, high converting experiences. Meta prioritizes good ads and ads that they can tell are working. The better it works, the more they're going to favor it, the better cost per click you're going to get. So a confusing landing page, something that gives people too many options and they're going to drop off, is going to send the wrong signals back to Meta. You don't want that. So what you want to do is show them that you have something of interest. So get a lead form right up at the top, or use an instant form on Meta to collect that information. Direct them straight to a calendar booking, a very short quiz with an email follow-up. This is not the time to, when you're running Meta ads, this is not the time to show them everything you offer and all of the bells and whistles. This is short, conversion focused information. And you want them to take some kind of action. Them taking that action is what sends that signal back to Meta that, ooh, I found the right person. This is a good ad. This is a good offer. And those signals are really important to keeping your ad really fresh. I forgot about this too when I was talking about creative, so I'll go back to it. Refreshing creative is becoming more and more important. Back in the day, you could run the same kind of creatives for quite a while and get a lot of leverage out of it. Those days are over. Creative fatigue sets in really fast, and actually Meta has in their ads manager, they have like a creative fatigue tracker now. And not only are you risking creative fatigue with your audience by showing them the same thing over and over again and then getting bored and ignoring it, but Meta is going to penalize you for it too. So it's kind of a double whammy. You're losing your audience, and Meta's going, they're not refreshing it, people are bored, move on, prioritize other ads. So remember that you're bidding for clicks with ads, and so you want to be putting your best foot forward to get those clicks. And so one thing Meta really prioritizes is refresh visuals. So I say get yourself a big set of them and rotate through. Obviously find your winners, scrap any losers, but if you've got winners, change the fonts, the placement on the ad, change the style, change the call to action, rotate. About every 3 weeks is kind of ideal right now, which is annoying, but it really is kind of what is keeping up with the algorithm at this point. And any longer than that, and they're starting to kind of penalize you. So just keep that in mind. And then the last thing I'm going to specifically touch on is fast follow-up. Everything happens quickly these days, and Meta is following everything that happens after somebody clicks on your ad. That is a part of their tracking. That's part of what you kind of give them authorization to do when you install a Meta Pixel or put your tracking into their system. And they want you to follow up fast, and they notice if you don't. The faster follow-up is going to score your ad higher. So essentially, right after, automations are best for this. Obviously, most of us aren't tied to our computer or our phone 24/7, hopefully. So if you've got a lead form that's being submitted or a calendar booking, make sure that you are getting out an email, an SMS, a thank you page with, some kind of action. Something that shows Meta that not only was this person interested in their ad, but also that the ad runner is engaging them. That's important too. So following up fast helps your ads. It's going to drive your cost per click down. It's going to make your ads shown more. So I cannot stress enough that the speed is really relevant. And speed to lead is important anyway in today's world, but just in terms of Meta ads, you will get penalized if you're not following up really fast. So make sure you've got those automations, those nurture sequences in place. What is converting best today across the board is a lead form on a landing page, to a thank you page, to an immediate SMS, almost immediately, within 2 minutes or something. That is the most effective funnel that's out there right now. So I would always say start with that. You can also use Meta's instant forms. Those are really great if you don't have a strong landing page. Those can, kind of eliminate that need. It's also less work with setting up tracking. You can download the leads directly from Meta. You can hook it up to your CRM. And, a lot of people put a lot of trust, obviously, in Meta, so they're maybe more likely to fill out a form that is embedded on Facebook versus going to your site. I do say with the caveat, though, I tend to see lower intent leads with instant forms because they're so easy to fill out, because it doesn't take a lot of effort and thought, and people are often scrolling late at night with a drink in their hand, and they will fill out a form on just about anything. With targeting, unless you are targeting a much older age group, turn that over, I would say even over 55 off, certainly over 60. The older generation will fill out a form for absolutely anything. I don't know why, but it's a problem. And so really narrow that targeting down to 18 to 55, maybe, again, unless you're trying to target retirees or something of that nature, but you will get a lot of lead forms from a much older demographic than you want if you don't narrow that targeting. So that's kind of the caveat with instant forms. They do work really well. It's great for lead collection if you're trying to beef up your email list, if you're trying to get webinar registrations, those instant forms are great. If you're really trying to drive qualified buyers, you may want to use the landing page format. But the instant forms often have a very cheap cost per click, a low cost per lead. And it can be a cost-effective way to run an ad, particularly if you don't have strong creative or landing page support behind it. So it's worth considering. I run quite a few instant form ads. They are successful, but you kind of have to do a lot more nurturing with them. So it's definitely not a conversion-heavy ad format. So just something to keep in mind. So those are kind of my top 5 main things that we're really seeing. If I can sum it up in any way, it's truly to work with their AI. And one way to test this, and I've done this with all of my client accounts since the changes to check. And what you can do is basically create 2 entirely different ad sets within the same campaign. Use one campaign, create 2 entirely different ad sets. And on ad set 1, run their advanced targeting, run advanced creative optimization, advanced plus placements, run all of those AI features, and then run a second ad set and run it like you would have 2 years ago. Put in your narrow detailed targeting, put in your interest-based targeting, your demographic-based targeting. We are seeing a lot of those go away purely because they are trying to push the advantage targeting. So we're seeing a lot less options for targeting than we used to, but run the 2 different ad sets and run it as an A/B test, give it a week, see what happens. And at least for me, I run about 12 ad accounts right now. Universally, I have seen better results using at least some or most of Meta's advanced targeting options. Certainly optimized creative, I never turn that off. That always makes sense. But really the only time I've found really narrow targeting to work better is with really, really dialed in niche products. If you are selling something super specific to a very small target demographic, then maybe. But for the most part, using their AI and letting it work for you is going better. But I encourage everybody to test it yourself, set it up both ways, see what converts better, and maybe play with it. You know, if you see slightly better results, but not massively better results, try turning off advanced targeting, try turning off advanced placement, see what you get. In some cases, advanced placements can negatively impact you. If you have an older audience that's really only on Facebook and not really on Instagram, then you might want to turn off the Instagram placements. Vice versa, if you've got a much younger audience, they're more likely to respond to ads on Instagram. So there are certainly situations where you might want to, you know, manually make changes. This is certainly not meant to be like, let AI do it all and walk away. But there are good tools here, and Meta is improving them over time. And the biggest takeaway is that they are pushing these targeting tools and these optimization tools. And if you're not using them, they're kind of penalizing you for it. Not kind of, they are penalizing you for it. So it's kind of like, if you want to use their platform, we're going to have to play by their rules. And this is what they want in 2025. So that's kind of my spiel on ads right now and what's working. So happy to open it up if anybody has questions. If you're running ads and you want me to look at anything, I'm happy to do that. I do have, for anybody that's considering running ads, if you're not already, I have a paid ads readiness bot that basically walks you through everything that I would do in like a 30-minute consultation. All the questions that I would ask to assess whether or not I think you should run ads. I'm never somebody who wants to just like throw somebody's ad spend at the wall and hope it works. I want to make sure that your funnel is optimized for conversions. I want to make sure you've got a clear CTA, that your budget is going to convert, that your expectation of return on ad spend is correct. So I have done thousands of these consults over the years, and I've really kind of whittled it down to like 7 questions and analysis points that help me understand where they're at. And I've put it all into a bot that does it all for me now and does it for you. And the beauty of it is you can run different scenarios. So if you've got 2 different funnels or 2 different offers, which one would be better? It's great to test with the bot and see like, would this perform better? Would this perform better? So I'll drop that in the chat. I've also got a PDF of kind of the top 5 things that I talked about today in terms of what's working, what to pay attention to right now. So I'll drop that in the chat too. But if anybody has questions or wants to ask anything or have me look at anything, I am happy to do that. Drop those in the chat now while I'm thinking about it. All right, so this link is for the Ads Advisor, and that just walks you through kind of step by step. It's very consultative. It tells you, it's not like a quiz where it's just scoring you, it's kind of explaining it as it goes along. And then this link will get you to kind of the PDF summary of everything we talked about today, kind of the highlights of what Meta AI is doing in 2025 and how to work with it, not against it. Both of those are free resources. Feel free to use, pass along, anything like that. And yeah, so open for questions if anybody has any. And if not, we will all get back to running our businesses.
Thank you for today, and thank you for the PDF and the tool. I think that'll be really helpful. What I was wondering is, you mentioned that in this, like when you do ads on Meta, you give them permission to follow the clicks and the responses. How long does that go? Like how much do they follow? Is it like kind of over once you respond? What does that look like?
So in your settings, you have something called an attribution window, and you can manually change that. The minimum you really ever want to set it to is 7 days. 30 will give you potentially better data. Honestly, I think it depends a lot on your sales cycle, depending on your client. If your clients are kind of quick to close, then you might want the 7-day attribution window. If you have to nurture, if you're going to run retargeting ads, especially if you're running retargeting ads, I like the 30-day attribution window, because then you set your lookalike audiences to 30 days as well. So I typically run 30 days on most of my clients. But again, if you want to narrow that down and you want to be very specific about this click came from this ad and then it went here and sold or didn't sell, then maybe 7 days or 14, you can change that. But to answer your question, you get to kind of decide. But all of that to say, obviously, we know that everything is kind of listening and watching at this point. And if you've got the Meta Pixel installed on your site, it's writing back to Meta, even if you're not running ads. I always install Meta Pixels on new websites and funnels right away, even if they're not running ads, because I want it to start learning. So yes, there is some trafficking, but where it's really watching and where it's going to ding you is in that attribution window.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah, no, it's a good question. Not many people think about that. But yeah, I prefer to keep that window longer just for the sake of getting as much data as I can. That's another thing I always say about ads, and that not everybody fully understands, is that a lot of what you're paying for is data. You're paying to understand what's working, what your audience is interested in. It's putting you in front of a broader audience so you can test offers faster as opposed to organically. So in addition to, obviously, you're hoping to pay for conversions and leads and things of that nature, you're paying to get their data and their customer base, essentially, and test things. So I always try to get as much data out of your ad spend as possible, which is another, like a lot of people will run ads just to a landing page and not collect the lead information. I want to collect the lead information regardless. So that's where I like, the instant forms or the forms on a landing page with some kind of offer, a download or a webinar or booking calendar, something like that. But if you're paying for the click, you might as well get everything that you can get out of it. E-com is a little different, right? Like if they're just clicking to a product, maybe you don't want to collect their information every single time. But for service-based offers, for bigger ticket offers, I like to always get that lead information as well, just so we can continue to nurture and add them to, pipelines and things like that.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and let us all get back to our hopefully lovely Wednesday. I dropped those in the chat. I actually recorded this time, so I'm going to start sharing these more publicly, along with all the resources and anything like that. So feel free to reach out if you need help, if you have questions. Try the ad spot. If you run into issues with it, please let me know. It's only been up for a month, but so far so good. So always happy to hear feedback on that. But otherwise, have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
You too.